Hey, greetings everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. Uncertain times seek uncertain ways of doing things, but definitely certain results is what we need to go after. Having known the national or international emergency that we are going through right now has pushed a lot of companies to work remotely. We've asked our people to work remotely, and managing remote workers is a different challenge in itself. A lot of companies are facing that challenge as we get through the weeks and days ahead. There are two kinds of managers that are out there. One, who are used to managing their employees working remotely, and two, who probably do not uphold remote work as much. Managing remotely can be complicated. And on top of that, when you add the current emergency situation that we are in, it's more challenging. More challenging for the employees as well as for the managers. Of course, not all managers view remote work the same way. Some may look to embrace it, may look to get creative, may look to rise up to the challenge and look for newer ways of tackling it and newer ways of seeking results. Whereas there are others who might not like the circumstances and who might also not like the aspect of remote work and remote work management. There are managers who get energy and focus on their people being right in front of them and may feel isolated in certain situations like the current, where their employees are working remotely and they have to manage them remotely. And there are others who might step up to the challenge and enjoy the aspect of finding new ways of managing their employees as well as finding time for themselves to get through their work without much disturbance. So in either case, we are here right now in the middle of this, and remote work has become a norm. And it might stay that way as we go forward. Even after the challenge is past, we will have some kind of remote work in the future. That's what this challenge has taught us, and we need to be prepared for it. So whether we like it or not, remote work is here to stay, at least in certain roles, and remote work management is a skill that remote work managers have to embrace and learn. It's not about forced isolation, or it's not about feeling disconnected. It's about finding ways to connect with people and to keep them engaged. About 70% of an individual's engagement or an employee's engagement is driven by their manager. That's what research tells us. So whether it's in the office or in a remote work scenario, that's the level of management any individual employee would need. And how can remote managers or remote work managers step up and get creative in order to capitalize on the situation of remote work management that we're all in right now? Well, number one is about individualization. What do I mean by that? Well, when people are all under one roof in the same office, it's easier to manage everybody with the same set of rules. It's one set of rules that applies to everybody, and everybody has to adhere to it, and the manager keeps on top of it. But when employees are working from home without a dedicated office, and especially in the current situation, they may or may not have a home office. They may be working from a study, from their kitchen table, from their bedroom. Who knows? And there are children who are not in school or daycare, and they could be around playing in the house, and there's the broadband connection in the house that could be used for multiple means. One for work, one for entertainment, one the kids are using for playing games, etc. So in all of this, when there is capacity, the mental capacity of the employee, as well as the resource capacity in the house that's being pulled in multiple directions, what managers can do is to depend on the aspect of individualization. What I mean by that is managers have to figure out where structure is required. For instance, if you have client calls, you want to make sure that the employee is in a space where there's no disturbance, there are no crying children in the background or pets in the background, and everybody's focused on that client call. And where it's internal calls, probably some level of flexibility can be entertained. Meetings can be shortened. Instead of having 30-odd minute meetings, maybe they can be shortened to 15-20 minutes, get the job done, and everybody move along to continue their work. Frequent breaks can be taken by the employees working remotely. And they can be flexible with their time, where they divide it up between actual work and then work that they need to do in the home. So what that means is, since people are working remotely, they can be flexible as to the hours that they're working and when they're working. Sometimes it makes sense to work in the evening hours after the kids are put to bed, if you want to get a whole chunk of work achieved. And that is possible in case of a remote work scenario. So it's up to each individual as to how they manage their work, and managers need to work with each individual who's working remotely in order to ensure that they have their own set timetable, own set structure, own set agenda that they are adhering to. Next comes communication. While communication, and frequent communication at that, is important in any circumstance or situation, it's more important in a remote work setting. Managers need to be effective communicators throughout the time, whether people are working from home or they're working in the office. The other thing is, since people are working remotely, there are a lot of non-verbal cues that could come across in emails, in telephonic conversations, teleconferences, where you're unable to see the face of the person or the emotions that you can read on their face. And as a result, there's a probability of a higher amount of miscommunication happening. So where possible, video conferencing should be engaged, and also everyone needs to communicate and interpret with a higher level of sensitivity in order to ensure that no miscommunication occurs. There's no defensiveness, there's no conflict. That should be the norm that the managers should encourage in case of a remote setting. And also, there should be communication happening at multiple times within teams. Also, using multiple media, whether it is teleconferencing, through email, text, etc. And each manager should find out what their particular employees, individual employees at that, are comfortable with. So in case of an urgent need, is it okay to text someone in order to seek their attention, since they might be doing something else since they are working from home because of their flexible schedule? So those kinds of priorities should be reinforced and addressed in order to ensure that the barriers to communication, the barriers to working together as a team, are minimized since people are working remotely. Managers need everyone to be able to give their best and positively impact the organization, and in order to do that, they need to play a larger role in remote work management. The other thing that they need to do is set accountability for everyone and its measurement. What that means is, since people are working remotely and doing different types of work, in some cases, it's easy to measure productivity based on the number of widgets they produce, based on the output they're producing every day. And in some cases, it's not so easy to measure accountability on a daily basis, but probably can be measured on a weekly or a monthly or a quarterly basis. In each case, it's different. And then the best way is to use telework tools. For instance, tools to communicate with each other, tools to measure projects and their progress, and also measure timelines and deliverables. People should be held accountable through check-ins, evaluation of the work that they've submitted, ensure that the timelines for the work delivery are being met, and that deliverables are of the right quality. That can be done in a remote setting, and that's what managers should uphold in order to hold employees accountable and ensure that there's peak performance, continued peak performance at all times. Like I said, online task management and project management tools are great in order to ensure that everybody sees it at the same time. It's transparent, it's visible, it's available for everybody 24/7, and as a result, there's no miscommunication and there's no misinterpretation of what's expected and what's being produced and delivered. For one, remote work management is at its productive best when there's mutual trust between the managers and their employees, and there's also accountability between the managers and their employees through mutually established means like I just talked about. At the same time, it gives the managers the ability to get more creative in getting the work performed, in remotely managing their people, and in also allowing creativity for the employees to perform their work. Everybody on the team, whether it's the managers or the employees, should be open to new discoveries, new innovation. Since it's a new territory and new way of working for the entire organization and for specific teams, everyone should be open to lessons learned and improving from those experiences, and also have the leeway to experiment and come back as a group, as a team, to see what works and what doesn't. That will ensure there's a high level of creativity, high interest, and high productivity. The entire culture of the organization will evolve through this remote work management, and you will find new ideas, new ways of managing work, and new things within this culture that makes it more inclusive and more friendly for all the different types of workers that are within the organization. It's important to listen to your employees. It's important to communicate frequently. It's important to leverage technology and technology support in order to make things work. Even after we get through the crisis, when things go back to normal, you can look at the option of remote work management based on what you have learned during this period and understand what works in order to provide excellent management to your employees, to the work that needs to get done. And all that is only possible if the managers have a positive mindset during this period and encourage the same of their employees, a listening ear at all times, and the ability to encourage and allow and experience greater flexibility as everybody works together to make a difference. Hey, I hope you liked that episode. Please make sure you tune in to Plan B Success podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform, or you could even go to YouTube, or you could check out the episodes on planb.live or rajivmudumba.com. And please make sure that you subscribe so that you get updates on these episodes coming out pretty much on a weekly basis. There's 3 episodes coming out on a weekly basis. And take a moment to leave a review and a comment on any of the platforms that you subscribe to. Thank you very much.